Grace and peace. This is Darren Thomas with another episode of Network 424, the spirit and truth about praise and worship. And this is the day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. There is a message that God is sending to the church that I just wanted to highlight today. It's been blessing my spirit all year long, and that is God used the NFL to prophesy a message to the church. It was in the Super Bowl 2010 that God resounded a clear statement that said, the Saints won. Listen, the NFL Super Bowl was more than just a football game. That was a message to the church of the living God. Not that we're going to win, not that we might win, but the message says the Saints won. God resounded that message in such a way that the 2010 Super Bowl, it was reported by the Huffington Post that the 2010 Super Bowl had 106 million viewers. It was the most viewed telecast ever. And the most viewed telecast ever was a resounding message of God speaking and declaring to the church that the Saints won. Man, that sounds like a praise goes right there. That tells us that as we're moving in destiny and as we're praying and as we're seeking God and as we're attempting to fulfill our dreams and our desires and things that we've placed before God, God has given us the victory already. All we have to do is stand in it and walk in it and believe God for it, stretch out our faith and operate in it because God has declared that the saints have won. Not only was that just a great message to the world and to the church, but listen, the other thing that hit me about that is a few years ago, we knew that New Orleans was the place of Katrina, which was one of the greatest natural disasters that we have ever experienced in our lifetime. But look, what God did was God used the same place of devastation to declare in that same place one of the greatest victories. What that says to me is that that's a word to somebody, that God is going to take the very place of your devastation and he's going to give you a victory in that same place. If I was in church, we would be praising God right now. God is going to use places of devastation in our life. Don't just see the devastation without seeing that God is for you in that devastation. And he can take that place of devastation and cause it to be a great place of victory. God spoke something to me early in the year as I was placing some things before him, and I was preparing to do another oratorio, which is entitled Rapture. And as I was preparing to do it, I had almost set it on the back burner because my first oratorio, Forgiven, had cost me about $22,000, and God blessed us with the finances. But this particular oratorio was going to cost about $70,000, and I almost put it on the back burner. And God spoke to me and said this. He said, do not place your prayer request before me as Jesse presented his sons before Samuel. You know the story of King David. Jesse presented all of his sons that seemed like likely candidates to be king. Those were the ones that he presented before Samuel. But God was not in the one that looked likely. God was in the one that looked like it was obscure. God was in the one that looked like, oh, it couldn't be this one. God was in the one that said, it can't be him. He's young. He's just a pretty boy. He's just a mama's boy. It can't be him. He's just tending the sheep. But God was in that very person. Listen, don't give your prayer request to God based upon what you feel it's easiest for him to answer. God does not see our challenges. God only sees his choice. You've got to move with the choice of God. Wherever the blessing is, if it costs $50,000, if it costs $500,000, wherever God's choice is, that's where his blessing falls, and that's where his hand is going to be. Listen, this is a great year. You know, God is so awesome that just in case we missed it at the beginning of the year, that the Saints won, it was just a few weeks ago that the Saints played the Pittsburgh Steelers and won again. And then it resounded once again. The way that hit my spirit is God was telling us at the end of the year that the message has not changed. The Saints have won. And not only that, I know that we play, the New Orleans Saints played the Pittsburgh Steelers, Steelers. But what I like to do is think of it this way, that the Saints played the Steelers, the Steelers. And God was saying, whatever you thought had a chance to steal something from you, steal joy, steal peace, steal your victory, God said that the Saints have defeated the Steelers, and no one is able to take this blessing out of your hand. All you've got to do is stretch out, believe God. This blessing in this year belongs to the saints, and the saints have won. Listen, Job says that though thy beginning was small, yet thy latter end should greatly increase. There's a little less than 2 months in this year, but that is more than enough time for God to do something awesome in our lives. I just wanted to share this word with you. I want you to receive this word. Walk in your victory. God has already given it to you. This is our time. This is our season. I am Darren Thomas, and this is Network 424, the spirit and truth about praise and worship. For they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. God bless you. We'll see you next week.